So, Éri Sarmet, we are very happy that you will be here in Berlin with us for a whole weekend and even longer. And we can see a compilation of your films. We can discuss with you. And first of all, we want to know a little bit more of you and talk about your films. And one of your films, the name is Latifundio, which means large properties. What is behind this title?
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the nomination. I'm super excited. So Latifundio is my first short film. It's a film that it was released in 2017, but I actually shot it in 2013. And back then, I was in college reading a lot of queer theory, and I was very compelled to the idea of understanding that we are taught that our bodies should be treated as our private property, like our first property. And then our sexualities also revolve around monosexualities. So latifundios are large agricultural properties, especially in Brazil, that only cultivate one type of food. So in Brazil, you have like these big farms that only cultivate soil or soy or corn. So in a way, you also kill the land when you do that, because you don't allow it for it to breed, to have different type of species. You have just the same type of species, and through the years, it gets the soil gets really damaged. So I was trying to make a parallel between that and the body, because Latifundio is a very queer pansexual film. So, and it's an experimental queer porn film. But in the beginning, it had one. Now the finished version doesn't feel like that, because it's highly experimental. But in the beginning of the script, there was a protagonist that was this cis straight white dude. So his journey throughout the film would be of just letting go of this idea of the body and just kind of destroying it completely, and by having these different types of experiences, not just like with himself and his body, but also seeing how other people relate to their own bodies. Kind of, that was the idea, like to try to make this parallel between like the body and the land. Yeah.
So it seems a very political porn in that way.
Yeah, it is.
Because you take the whole ecology and economy and capitalism and patriarchy, imperialism, everything is inside. And that's why it's post-porn also a little
bit. Yeah.
But what we really appreciated also is like that you showed also that the psychology, or like Freud, or all these big theoretical persons who had a big influence or still have big influence, that they really colonize our view of bodies too. And this is a big point also in your articles, when I read a lot of your articles now.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm reading a lot about that. Yeah. I think that Latifundio is kind of complex in the way. I think it has some type of ambivalence, because at the same time that it does that, and you have that opening shot with the South America sideways, like that art piece by Torres Garcia, in the back, as a tattoo in the back of one of the characters. Although it starts that way, what you hear in the voiceover is actually something written by PorYes. So I think it's kind of ambivalent and complex in that way, because also there is this in the final scene that it was supposed to be an orgy, but it's not really an orgy. Like there is just people doing different sexual stuff in the same place. There is this character that she's masturbating herself with a book, but the book is sideways, so it kind of also makes fun of that. I think makes fun of that in the way that we relate to these concepts and texts that are created in Europe, and how we apply to ourselves and the work that we do, without actually realizing that in Latin America, for instance, we have artists discussing the same type of stuff since a long time ago. So you have like artists in the 80s, like in Chile, in Brazil, in Mexico, in different countries that are already doing what today we would call post-porn, but they didn't have that name back then. So that is also something that is very present in my work. And I think that it's also something like this dialogue is also present in A Wild Patient. There's also a lot of references, and in that case, especially to like North American filmmakers and poetry writers, different kind of artists, because that's how colonization and imperialism work. Like that's also part of that this relationship also constitute ourselves. So we can't erase it. It's already done. Like it's already part of our references, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to use them or we have to reject them completely. But it's not the only thing, and that's definitely not the only source that we must like learn from. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's really good that you always show up that there are generations before you, or we always have generations before us, and also do a reference to the work they did already. And that's what you do with your second film with Una Paciencia, very much that you try to bring together generations there. It's more the lesbian, but it's even the political scene, very often you don't get the ideas from the generation before. And sometimes you could say it's political too, that these ideas are not transported to the next generation. And in your film, you try to bring them together, and also with a lot of humor, I would say. And we like it very much.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was something very important to me in the making of the film, because I wanted to make a film about lesbians. That was something that I was very invested on, and I didn't see much in film, especially when we talked about women or lesbians in their 50s, 60s. Like you don't see films with that kind of character. Queerness is always, especially in film and in media in general, associated with youth. Like if it's something, like if it was something for the youth, and we kind of forget that queer people get older. So and when we are young, we also a lot of times we think that we feel that we are, I don't know, kind of being pioneers in something because we don't know about our past, and that's because we are not taught about our past. So when you are cis, straight, you kind of get that from family, from school, from the media. You know straight history because it is the official history. But when we are talking about queer lives, like we are not thought about that. We don't know about queer history. We don't know about queer people that preceded us. So there's always this type of feeling, I don't know, it's like you're doing something completely new, and it's not new. People been feeling the same way that you feel for hundreds of years. So in my film, I try to put those worlds together, also not in a not in a hierarchy, because that's also something very common. Like if you have an older character and you have a bunch of newer characters, people tend to put that older character, in some sense, as a kind of mentor, like that they are gonna share their knowledge with the young. And what I tried to do was not that, was like for them to be at the same level, like they're both learning from each other, they're both teaching each other something. It's not hierarchical, yeah. And that was really important to me because I was for a long time like a lesbian activist and also like cultural agitator in Brazil, in Rio specifically. Like I created some queer parties that ran through several years. And when I started, it was something, it felt like we were doing something completely new because for a long time we didn't have anything like that, like growing up and stuff. But then when you know your history, you know that it's not like that. Like a lot of people did that before, and a lot of people will keep doing that like after you're gone. So that's why I wanted to put that. And also I think to pay homage to these artists that kind of made me who I am. I think like our references and the things that inspire us and I don't know, make us want to do stuff. I wanted to put everything regarding that topic in that film because it was really important. Like, and I hope that it also it can be important to other people, like those works were to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting because when we saw some excerpt from your film here in the salon, feminist porn watching, and then people reacted like that they said, wow, this is so amazing that and that they would laugh that it's really like that, that you come together, the generations come together, and there is a group of women or lesbians or queer, and they just are good with themselves and play around, and there is just like nice going on with everyone, and everyone is supportive and have sex and love and la la la. So everyone was like, wow, this is really utopic for us. But they loved the idea, and they really checked in their own life, how can it be a little bit more like that? And even this is already what you reached, a part of that the generation come together. And the same like in your first film, you bring different characters together, different kind of practices, different bodies, and also like pictures who are not so familiar. So you break the experience, what we expect. So you really try to do something else, and then there is the music, and it's getting a little bit lighter. So it's a nice way to show your ideas.
Yeah, I think it's important to have fun. Like I like to watch and make fun films. I like being entertained. Of course, I like being touched. I like getting emotional. And I think Latifúndio is a film that can make you access different types of emotion. Like a lot of people tell me that they can actually see the film because they get a lot of disgust. especially in some performances. And when they tell me that, like, I love it, yes, get
Yeah.
disgusted by it. Because that's a feeling. And if it is a feeling, even though it's not a good feeling, it is something. It means that you felt something watching it. And that's why I make films. Like, I want to make people feel stuff. So Latifundio is very fun, and there is this diversity in bodies. It was also something very important to me because back then I was doing my master's, and my master was on Latin American post porn. So I've been studying porn in academia like for 10 years. Now I don't do it anymore, just sometimes, but as a topic of study in my academic life, I was with it for about 10 years. And during the process of the film, what I was really intrigued and wanted to do was how to, I don't know, make porn that's going to destabilize, is going to provoke something in the language, like how do you film porn, how do you shoot porn. So it was just, it's not just about the bodies. That was really important because I think that's a bigger, like a major thing in porn, especially when you're talking about commercial traditional porn. But it was also about things that you don't see or that you want to see. So I don't know, there is some blowjobs in the film, but you never see like the character is never with a hard cock because that was something that we didn't want to. And then when the character comes, that you see it through his anus. So and we shot it like with a macro really close to his anus. So because that was important to me, like to go through this queer making of a film and how do you represent certain types of sex and certain types of body in a way that you usually don't see it in porn, and also with all the budget restriction that we had because it's a very, very low budget film. I did when I was in college, like I didn't have any money. We shot it like at my place. That was my home with some friends, some performance artists that were willing to be part in the film. But a lot of people there are just like friends that thought that the idea was intriguing. They were invested by it. And with very little equipment, like, and not so good equipment. I remember that to do that scene that we do that, I don't know how to say that, shot in English. I know in Portuguese is zenital. When you do here, the camera is here and the characters are here and they're kind of dancing in the floor over some newspapers. There is like a map. There is a map with charcoal that we did, and they are over it. Of course, we didn't have like that kind of equipment, so we just put like a wood ladder with a broom, and the camera stick to the broom. Like that, and that's how we shot it. So I think it's a very passionate film, and it's really important. It was really important for me to be fun when we were editing. That was something that I talked to the editor, Thomas Kali, a lot because I don't know. I like fun stuff. I like that. I like that type of film, and I felt because the topic is already so serious that I was afraid that it would be something very serious, very, oh, this is an experimental film and we are doing this and like something kind of high art, and I didn't want that at all. So that's when the idea of the soundtrack came in. So because then it made everything, I think, a lot faster and fun, and I think it just works, and it also communicates a lot about what's happening in the scene also. Yeah,
definitely. And you're also talking about controlling the gaze, or we would say feministing the gaze. You explained that already. And there are always different level in your films, and especially in Latifundio, you can watch the film several times and you always find something new to discover. And that's also, it's a very intellectual film, it's a very funny film, it's a political film. I don't know, it's not one genre, it's really trans genre. At the end of Una Paciencia, you have this group scene, and this is very slow. And for our motto for this year is slow down and pleasure up. And it's a little bit like, you know, in Latifundio, you're really quick. And there is a lot of stuff and a lot of levels and a lot of thinking, a lot of laughing, a lot of everything. It's a big diversity in every kind of. And then the other film, it's more like at the end, it's really like slow down and come together and feel and watch and feel again and get connected. And this is like a political message for especially this time where we live in.
Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. That scene was like a big challenge, because I knew I had to have an orgy scene in that film with those characters, but I didn't know how I was gonna do it. I didn't want to go to what would be safe. I think that it would be to shoot it like you shoot it in porn, like you do those very close shots of parts of body. That's something that is very common in porn, and also something that is very common in film in general. Not so much in porn, but when you go to like cinema, that you have to create, to pass the sense of intimacy, you have like this camera in hand, and then you go like through the bodies, just very close, and just trying to get the message of intimacy happening there. So I didn't want either way. I wanted to do something different, and that took me a very long time, because I didn't have any references. So all the orgy scenes reference that I had, besides from Hijas del Fuego by Albertina Carri, beside that film, I never had, but it's very like post-porn. That film is very post-porn. So I wanted other references, and I didn't recall any references with an all women or non-binary people orgy scene. Like most orgy scenes in films are with or cis straight people or gay guys, usually gay guys. So I recall that I had seen a play 5 years ago that had an orgy scene, all-female orgy scene. And then I invited one of the actresses to be our body preparer, something like that, like to work with the cast. And then we got together and we did some exercises, like some like common exercises in theater, but also together with the cast, we all started to propose poses, like different types of poses for that scene. And that's when I started to see like who would be great with whom, like what the dynamic would be. Because to me, what that scene made me really reflect was on lesbian desire. That's something that is very in dispute, not just in porn, but in film and TV in general. There is this craving about lesbian desire, and how can you represent lesbian desire, and what is truthful and what is not. So a film like Blue is the Warmest Color is considered by a lot of lesbians like not truthful to the true lesbian sex. And what is the truth behind lesbian sex? What is like a truthful representation of lesbian sex? Because people fucking very different ways. You can't say that that's the way that lesbians fuck. Like, people are gonna fucking so many different. So during this, that's when I realized that, like, okay, so this is unrepresentable. Like, I can't represent it. It's a fiction. It's something that is on us. Like, you could never really, in any type of film, in any type of porn, do represent what is the truthful lesbian sex. So okay, so as I was saying, if the lesbian desire is unrepresentable, like, you can get the truth of it, you can't get the real lesbian desire in camera, because that's impossible. So then I decided to go for a more artificial purpose. Like, we would propose poses, we would do it in a way that it felt not so much as like real sex, even though it also feels that way. And I think that's also like due to this great work of the cinematographer Cris Lira, also Martin Charret, the art director that did that beautiful set that you see. And also, of course, the cast, they were amazing, and Marilia that did the body prepare work that I told you. So it was also like everything coming together to create a scene. And also, not to forget the work by the soundtrack by Natália Carreira, that is a very sensorial music that you're hearing. And that's also something that I wanted to make it different from porn, in a way that sound, especially the sound of breath and the sound of people yelling and expressing, saying stuff, that's how you get the realness of desire by women or non-binary people with vaginas, because you don't have the material fact, like the proof of a sex that you get in other types of bodies. And that's why in porn, especially when we're talking about, of course, commercial, traditional, heteronormative porn, you have that hyper dimension of the sound. So you have women screaming, and you have the heavy breath sounds. And that was something that I didn't want to do. And that's why, like, the scene is silent, but all the feeling is in the music and in the performance. So you almost feel like they're breathing, but they're not. You're not hearing anything. You're not hearing anything that they're doing at the moment. But then you get the sense that you get the sense of that because you are entering in a very sensorial atmosphere, and that was something that I really wanted to do. I wanted the film is very wordy. Like, people talk a lot in the film all the time, and they talk about lesbian representation all the time. And so in that moment, I really wanted for people in the theater to just like relax and just get into the scene and kind of leave that moment with them. So yeah, that's why I made that scene. Like, that scene makes a lot of sense to me. It's a very long scene, and that's why also I know it bothers a lot of people, because it's in a 25-minute film. Like, you have a 2-minute sex scenes is very long, and that it bothers people, especially because it reminds them of porn, because it's a very long scene. So if it was a very short scene, some people I know wouldn't be bothered, but that's something that happens also in that film that I mentioned, like Blue is the Warmest Color. It makes people uncomfortable, not because of the type of sex that they're having, but because it's a 7-minute long sequence. And that makes people uncomfortable because they have the feeling that they are watching porn together with other people, and they are not used to that, and they are very uncomfortable because they can't look away. It's right in front of their faces, so they have to deal with the fact that they are watching it and that they are aroused by it. Like you can't deny it. Like porn makes that. Porn makes you feel stuff, and that's why it's a genre that is so considered so low. It's so in low consideration of many people, just like horror or just like melodrama, because these are body genres. These are genres that make you feel stuff and make your body react. So you come and you cry and you get horrified. You're like, that's why I'm so attracted to all of them. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very curious how we discuss at the panel and at university, because I have a lot of more questions for you, and I'm very interested in the discussion. And we will see the 7 minutes at the award, and people can relax and check how they react and what kind of level is satisfied or aroused or whatever it makes. And you will see also another group scene. We have different groups in this award.
Oh, great.
So this is a present for you. You can
we need more references of that. It was so hard to make that scene without any references.
Yeah, but it's exactly what you say. You don't get the information, and I could give you now.
No, sure. Yeah.
If you want, you don't have the people around you, so you need sometimes a little time. And here you are.
Yeah.
And we will see a wonderful group scene from Deborah Sandale in one of her films, which is also amazing. And I'm very happy that we can see them all. So thank you very much for this interview. And I'm looking forward
Laura.
to see you in Berlin. So
me too. I'm very excited to be in Berlin. Thank you so much. It was great.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.